Is Lauren Rappert, and today I will be discussing the case that I had chose in regarding my final project for law and ethics, which is the ever-growing case of Roe versus Wade. And I will also be discussing the Supreme Court justice I had chose to write my paper on, along with discussing my own personal opinion from the ethical discourse paper and how I feel about the case. But first, before we even dive into it, let's discuss the 14th Amendment. A person who was born in US soil has their own equal rights and human rights as a person of this country. Basically stating that we have our own way, we have our own free will, pretty much. But it also says that the right to privacy was found alongside the 14th Amendment, which is basically what the Supreme Court had really just took to heart in the ways of Roe v. Wade. So let's talk about the case for a little bit. So, in the case of Roe v. Wade, it is considered one of the most well-known landmark cases in our country, especially during its time, where the case had begun in 1973 to be exact, where a woman was using the alias known as Jane Roe, whose real name I will not discuss because I would still like to keep her identity a secret, even though it's really not a secret at this point anymore, but still, legality of it. She instituted federal action against a man of the name of Henry Wade, who just so happened to be the district attorney of Dallas, Texas at the time. Shocker, not really. And in the state of Texas at the time, it states that criminalized abortion in most instances was in fact illegal. And of course, Miss Rowe to be exact, didn't see it as this way. She saw it as a means of a woman basically having the right to choose what she does to her body. But the city of Dallas was not having that. And so she challenged it in the court of law. The court rulings were that in a majority opinion written by, of course, a certain justice at the time, I do not remember his name, unfortunately. The court held that the Texas status violated a constitutional right to privacy, i.e., the 14th Amendment, saying that certain privacies that we have for ourselves as US citizens are just meant for us and not for the government's use, which is true. The right to privacy was also found to be implicated, of course, in due process clause of the 14th Amendment, as I just stated. The court balanced the right to privacy with the state's interests in protecting the health of pregnant individuals and potentially of human life, meaning that even if that woman is deemed pregnant, I say that very lightly, if the fetus is considered to be life-threatening to the woman, then she has every obligation to get that abortion. Even if she didn't want to keep the baby, she still has that free choice. And so they saw it as a means to go ahead and say, okay, we'll give y'all a time frame to get the abortion, and after that time frame is up, then y'all are not allowed to get an abortion anymore, basically. However, fast forward to June 24th, 2022, as the Supreme Court during that time had overlooked all the facts and everything and relooked the precedent. And they also, once again, used the 14th Amendment right to privacy. They ended up overturning the original decision of Roe v. Wade, and they made it up to the decision of the states themselves to decide whether or not abortion should be illegal or not. And Texas just so happened to be one of those states where they banned abortions all across the state. So, with that being said, I want to go into the history of the Supreme Court justice I had chose, whose name is Amy Coney Barrett, who just so happened to be the only woman that voted yes on overturning Roe v. Wade, and I will explain why this is substantial. Miss Barrett, she came onto the scene regarding the Supreme Court back in 2017. In a little bit of context, she is a Roman Catholic. She grew up in a very Catholic family, but both her parents were also very much well in depth into, the legal system. Well, mainly her father. Father was an attorney while her mother was a French teacher, but her life as a whole was very much in depth into the religious aspect, meaning that basically she put a lot of emphasis in her religious life into her work, is what her Democratic fellow members would always say. And you'll see why this is a problem later. This became an issue when the whole Roe v. Wade had came about because, as I stated in the You Are the Justice paper, she really just let her decision on pro-life and allowing a woman's body to be used in, certain ways, and her ideology on what it means to have a child and not lose that child. She really just let that kind of just dictate her own decision. And funny enough, she actually never had children of her own. She adopted children at that, which really just had me begging the question, what was the point in even her wanting to really overturn this ruling? Maybe it was her thought process that even though I didn't have a chance to have children of my own, maybe I can give women that chance that I didn't. Or maybe it's because she was really, really just, excuse me for my language, but hell bent on pro life to the point where she just kind of lost her way in it. And she didn't look at it from the standpoint of a woman who possibly needs that abortion because it's so life threatening to her. And you really just want to take a step back and look at her background, like I did, where you have yourself thinking to yourself, and you're just like, wow, this woman just really allowed her own belief system to dictate what others will think is best for them. And that's not how that works. Miss Barrett, she truly is somebody, in my opinion, who doesn't seem to really just look in between the lines of certain things and look past what's written in the books. And in my opinion, if I honestly could say that this whole court case and the research that I've done for it, it's really and truly just people who don't know what's really going on in the lives of everybody, not just even women, the lives of everybody daily. And instead of them actually looking for a way to better the situation, they're instead choosing to better the situation for themselves and think to themselves, oh, well, maybe if we, do this for him, then maybe, just maybe, it'll become a better scenario in the long run. But that's not the case. But it's only until we decide for ourselves that we deserve better. And so, thank you for listening and thank you for watching. And I really do hope that this kind of cleared up a little bit more on this issue of this case.